Moody Gooners, hello, welcome. Episode 20 is here of the Moody Gooners podcast, the Arsenal podcast with a difference. The difference being our commitment to supporting all things mental health through our bold predictions each week, which we invariably always get wrong. And when we do, we make our donation to Mind, who are our charity of choice. So yes, welcome today. Fresh off the back of a rather poor performance, I think we have to say, last night against Lens over there in northeastern France. I'm going to be reviewing the game, talking about how we've sort of approached it, feelings around sort of the lineups, the usual kind of drill, and then we move into our bold predictions at the end. So usual kind of format. I think the main thing for me is just a real feeling of disappointment. I think the Champions League, I've sort of looked at it. I mean, yeah, it's still very early days, of course, but a few doubts I think creeping in, because I've sort of looked at the Champions League as being the competition where where we can maybe relax and enjoy it a little bit more and go into it with a little bit less pressure than the Premier League. I'm now starting to look at that group, having been to Sevilla myself, seeing the atmosphere there, knowing what the atmosphere is like in Lens, having been there last time we played them. And then obviously PSV won't be an easy ride either. So I'm still looking at it really as we need to be picking up a point, or at least a win or a point in one of our away matches to really sort of nail this group. And I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as we think. If we keep playing like we did yesterday, Jesus, we might actually be in for a bit of a tougher run. I'm not sort of subscribing to this idea that we're sort of nailed on to go through as group winners. I think Lens are sort of regarded as probably the weaker side of the four, and I really don't think we did ourselves any justice last night. It's a really disappointing game, and today I'm going to sort of pick through that a bit in detail for you all. Thanks for joining. Remember to like, subscribe, notification bells on, all of that kind of good stuff, and yeah, hope you enjoy the content. So let's dive straight in, shall we? So team news. I mean, I have to say, when the team came through, I was quite surprised in a good way. I thought the team was really strong. We sort of picked, pretty much a full strength 11 of generally what's available. It was great to see Trossard come back into the left-hand side of the attack, which enabled us to bench Nketiah and have a bit more firepower in reserve there. Stick Jesus through the middle. So really happy to see that, particularly with City in mind. Great as well to see Thomas Partey on the bench. Could he potentially have made a 15-minute cameo or so before the end of the game, and then maybe put himself in contention for more of an active role against City? I mean, obviously, if he's on the bench, he should be fit to potentially do that. Although we were chasing the game at the end, so maybe the game state didn't allow us it. But it would have been nice for him, I think, with City in mind, to have got some time and put himself in the frame for a game there. The only kind of real sort of slightly interesting change, I would say, would be Tomiyasu coming in at right back for Ben White. I think Ben White's been fine recently. I think he's essentially looks a little bit weaker defensively at times, a bit of backing off I've noticed in games where he's kind of allowed players on a little bit. But I certainly wouldn't say that there was any kind of cause for alarm. Obviously, he scored in our previous game, and once again, we're talking the goalkeepers to death at the moment, but David Raya coming in, or not coming in rather, but starting in the Champions League again. I mean, it's clear now that I think it's been clear for a few weeks, but he definitely is the number one. So yeah, it wasn't really a great surprise to me there. And but I looked at the team. Thought this is looking quite strong now, with Partey coming back and with Jesus up the middle and Trossard on. I thought, okay, let's give this a go. I mean, I certainly before the game was not one of these fans that thought, oh, it's only Lens. It's we should be winning this one. Having been to Lens like myself, like I say before, to watch Arsenal many years ago, I know that the atmosphere there is absolutely rocking. They really do punch above their weight, and I think the fans do make a massive difference, to be honest. And I did look at it and think, this is going to be a tough game. This is the kind of game that if you're not really at it and fully committed and really understand that you need to earn the right to play and to win a game, you can come a cropper. And that's actually what we saw. That's kind of what we saw last night. I mean, I think, my main sort of frustration about the game was that we just keep playing this same choreographed game of football about sterile possession, passing the ball around the horseshoe, back in again and around. There's no progression through the lines, either through carrying the ball or through passing through the lines. The one time that Declan Rice sort of decided to go a bit rogue, if you like, was to clip a ball over to the top in the middle of the second half to Jesus, and something nearly kind of came of it. We sort of seemed to sort of shake ourselves outside of, and I appreciate coaching's important, but last night we seemed to play the same when we were 1-0 up and 0-0 as what we did when we were 2-1 down. Like, just very slow progression, sterile at times. I was actually quite bored watching us. I mean, people always talk about Arsenal playing football the right way and playing some good attacking stuff. I was bored out of my mind, to be honest, for most of that second half. I just could not see us even, getting close to the goal and getting a shot away, let alone put regular sort of pressure on their defence and eventually prise the door open. The only sort of time really that we sort of put any pressure on was around injury time. And by that stage, it's pretty much too late. I mean, something can always obviously happen for you, but I was looking at it thinking, come on, like, where's the reaction to going 2-1 down? But anyway, let's dive into the first half. And I think, it's a similar kind of story. I think, the whistle goes and we launch the ball long down the pitch, and then, it comes back to us, and then suddenly we're controlling possession as we usually do. Knocked it around nicely, playing out from the back a little bit. They were trying to sort of put the press on us a little bit, and we were able to kind of play through that pretty easily. Zinchenko at no point in the first half that I saw played at left back, where he was, where according to the team sheet he was, and we just kind of played, we played him in the midfield there, and we did control the ball, and it was good enough to see. I mean, the only real chance we sort of carved out was ball to the far post. It was good to see Havertz making that run, to be fair, into that left-hand side sort of pocket, popping up at the far post. I mean, it's quite a tough chance, I would say, technically, to kind of come onto you from an angle. I mean, I was almost looking for sort of a volley with the laces. I think a player with more confidence maybe would have opened his body up and tried to volley it hard using the instep of the foot across the keeper. In fairness, he did actually, connect with it well enough with the inside of his foot, and an easy save for Samba. I think the chances that we had were all quite easy for the keeper to deal with. And then when the goal came, I wouldn't say it was against the run of play per se, but we didn't, apart from the Havertz chance, we didn't really look like we were on it from an attacking perspective, really, from at any point. And the centre backs were split because they had possession. Thomason basically undercooks his pass, Saka latches onto it, and it's a straightforward assist, knocks it forward. Jesus, because the defenders are then having to kind of come from wider positions and close down, Jesus has got that bit of time to drive into the box. I'm not sure it was quite the cleanest connection that he probably would have hoped for, but it was still a good finish across the keeper. And suddenly you're going, great, we're controlling the ball, controlling the game. We've got that all-important early goal. Let's go and win this game. And from there, we never really kind of sort of got our game going from an attacking perspective. I thought we were fine defensively. I don't think we, were really setting any putting up any trees going forward. But yeah, we, when you've got that goal, you can afford to sort of continue that possession game, and in the knowledge that you probably get your chance later in the game anyway. So I was sort of feeling quite relaxed by that point, I would say. And then, we had the lead for about 9 minutes, I think it was. And then their goal, their equaliser came. And a lot of talk's been about Raya and his distribution out to Tomiyasu on the right. It's just the way we play. I think, we've seen it wasn't the easiest pass. But then I don't think, I think at that point it's kind of on Arteta, because I don't think he wants Raya to launch the ball long and things like that. So the ball at Tomiyasu didn't quite hit his man. Machado, talk about it in a second, but he controls the ball, shall we say, flicks it through to Wahi, who is off balance and somehow was able to kind of pass the ball to Thomason. And what a finish, I have to say. Like, if sometimes your team concedes a goal where you actually do just have to hold your hands up and go, that was actually a wonderful finish. I mean, the ball's kind of upish and he's able to kind of use the inside of his foot and really control that finish, but still put enough power on it. And Raya's well beaten. He's well beaten there. And it was a fantastic goal. You have to say the finish and the way they worked it was brilliant. But where the hell was VAR? I mean, rightly so at the weekend. The VAR sort of debate in the Premier League rages on. I think rightly so. It's an absolute abomination at the moment. The technology is not the problem. It's the people running it and the rules. Some of the rules are quite grey. But handball should be one of those rules that typically that is a bit greyer than others. But at the end of the day, the ball from Raya out to Machado was controlled, below the shoulder line of his shirt on the top part of his arm. I mean, why VAR are not looking at that and then disallowing the goal in the build-up? I mean, I have to give credit to the finish. It was absolutely wonderful, but this is an absolute disgrace why that goal was even given in the first place, to be honest. So I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's just yet another example of the technology failing us in this modern game. It's an absolute, appalling thing, and it wasn't even kind of referenced that much on commentary or in the ground. So I'd love to know what's going on there, to be honest, because it certainly feels a bit hooky to me. And then obviously we saw Bukayo Saka pull up with what looked like a muscle injury. I mean, Arteta said that he pulled his hamstring in one of the attacking phases just after their goal. And obviously if it's a hamstring, probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks. I'd be absolutely blown away. If there's one player that can make it back for Sunday, it probably is him. But if he genuinely has a muscle pull, expect him to be out until after the international break for sure. But yeah, I mean, a lot of chat around Saka. I mean, my main thing is that I do want him to be strategically rested at different points. I'm not saying that we completely wrap him up in cotton wool, because he's a very robust player. He puts himself into challenges. He is very solid. I think he's actually a lot more robust than what people give credit for. However, there was an article a few weeks ago in The Guardian where they talked about how Saka had played 30 games more than the likes of Phil Foden or Wayne Rooney or Michael Owen had done in the first 4 full seasons of their professional careers. So he's definitely played a lot of games, and I appreciate they've got all the sports science and all the numbers that kind of back things up. But there are certain times in games where, like Bournemouth at the weekend, take him off a bit earlier. It's absolutely keep him as fresh as you can, because these kind of things are cumulative. And we might say, they might put it down to muscle injury. It's unlucky he pulled his hamstring, but a lot of this is cumulative. And if he's been feeling a bit tired and lethargic, sort of coming into the game, or feeling like and this season he's been up against a lot of 2 versus 1 situations where he's having to come into contact a lot more. I appreciate there's not many games that have been played so far this season yet, but part of the reason that Saka was flagging among other players at the end of last season, I think, is because we'd had a very settled first 11. They just did not quite have the fitness levels for me to quite get over the line, and that's obviously partly due to a lack of depth last season. But we're seeing this again. I think things like hamstring and these muscular injuries do seem to happen more when a player is a bit fatigued or being overplayed. And there's times definitely where we could be giving Saka a bit of a rest. And maybe this is the thing that's going to change some of the thinking. Maybe we might lose him for a few games now, but maybe in the future we might be a bit more careful with him. I understand that you definitely want to play your best players. Even when he's not really lighting the game up for the full 90 minutes as much, he's still contributing with a goal involvement pretty much every game he plays, which is fantastic. But yeah, I'm hoping that he does play obviously on Sunday, but I want us to look after this guy. I'd hate for him to be completely on the scrap heap at 27 years old, when his best years are ahead of him, because he's such a wonderful player, wonderful guy. So anyway, Vieira came on, to be honest, incredibly invisible. A lot of people saying, he hasn't really played on that right-hand side of the attack. I noticed in pre-season he did a bit, and I kind of think he's got some of the attributes to maybe do half-decent job there, but he didn't really get on the ball, didn't really make his presence felt, didn't really get the game by the scruff of the neck. It's kind of the usual stuff we see from Fabio Vieira. He's got a lot of talent, but just not really at the races really. So he came on, and really the end of the first half sort of petered out as a bit of a contest. Again, very much like a game of chess. Neither team really going for it. Probably Lens kind of grew a bit more into the game. Obviously, the atmosphere ratcheted it up quite a bit. The only kind of real effort we have is Jesus ball finds it on the left-hand side, and the ball's in row double Z in the upper tier, high wide and not very handsome, I must say. But other than that, didn't really create a great deal. 1-1 at half time. Obviously, then the game's in the balance, literally. It's probably not going to be the stroll we wanted. But at the start of the second half, I mean, we had Trossard sort of got on the front foot, got to the far post, cut back in, very tame shot. And in fairness, I was looking, at the first instance, could he have squared the ball to Gabriel Jesus or Fabio Vieira? But when you watch the replay, there's no real angle there for him to be able to find one of those guys. I'm fine with him taking the shot, but the shot was just very, very tame and straight at the keeper. And then we had another chance where ball kind of comes in from a wide area. Tomiyasu gets onto it, connects pretty well, but again, straight at the keeper. Not ruthless with our final sort of finish in and around the box. And then the unthinkable happens, and they get their what's to ultimately be their winner. I mean, Zinchenko sort of I guess he's such a great player, such a joy to watch as an attacking force, as an attacking player. But the big challenge is that sometimes the flip side of that is he can be pulled into positions where he doesn't want to be pulled to, and he was kind of sucked in, and then a little 1-2 around the corner. Frankowski cuts the ball back, and rather than kind of continue his run into the box, he actually just stops. All the defenders go, but there's still 4 Arsenal defenders and only really Wahi in the box from Lens. And it's a great goal, to be fair. Like, the finish is great. The ball comes onto him in one smooth movement that's kind of turned his body and guided the ball into the side netting, into the far corner there. But again, no one sort of has that presence of mind to kind of. And I thought Saliba actually had quite a good game defensively. Some of his passing was a little bit ropey, but he sort of just kind of ran towards his goal, and he turns around at the last minute and sort of sees while he's there with about 5 meters space all around him to put that finish away. So I think the most disappointing thing for me with this whole game is actually what happened after that point. I mean, yes, we're 2-1 down. It's the Champions League. It's a league format. Short, sharp games, 6 games. You need to get your points. And it just blew my mind that there was just no real response to going 2-0 down. I mean, I think we're a bit shaken, and maybe you just need 5 minutes to kind of gather yourself. But there's still enough time in the game, still like 25 minutes, 30 minutes to find at least an equaliser. And maybe you walk away going, God, that was a tough game, a bit of a wake-up call that we can't take these kind of teams lightly, but we still get away with a point. And maybe that's that point, if we win our home games, where that then qualifies us comfortably for the knockout stages. But really, it was just we played the same pedestrian, slow, sluggish, sterile possession football when we were 2-1 down. Like I said, the same as when we were 0-0 and 1-0 up and at 1-1 at any point in the game. There was just no real response to it. The ball was just being recycled across the back line into midfield. It goes wide again, and then we sort of just get blunted, if you like. I mean, they defended deep. They defended pretty well. I thought their centre halves were excellent. The midfielder, the central midfielder was great in there. And I just thought, Abdul Samed, should I say, the guy who played in the middle of the park there, was really, really solid. But I just felt that we were awful. Like, we really were awful. Like, where is that kind of sense of, like, we're down, we're 2-1 down, we've got to kind of go for this. We've got to kind of change things up. And again, Arteta's making changes relatively late in the piece. The players had sort of run out of ideas, I noticed, and we're making our first substitutions by about 75 minutes. We see Ben White comes on for Tom, and Tomiyasu moves to left back. The Zinchenko goes off. Reiss Nelson comes on that left hand side for Trossard. And I have to say, I think Reiss Nelson looks to me to be the brightest of of our attacking players at the moment in terms of just how lively he looks and how. I mean, sometimes he lacks a little bit of finesse and a bit of silk, if you like, but he looks like he wants to get on the front foot and try and make things happen. So yeah, I was quite happy to see him come on, and then Smith Rowe on for Havertz. Smith Rowe, sort of toe punted a shot again straight at the goalkeeper, like they all were on the night. Very poor shot, but what I did like about that was that Smith Rowe went and kind of got the ball himself off of one of the Lens players' turn and make the chance for himself. So again, that's the kind of stuff I love seeing, like a player that's prepared to take the game by the scruff of the neck, show a bit of personality, realise that we're actually losing this game, and actually go and pick up the ball and make something happen. The only time where something maybe happened that was a bit outside of our formulaic sort of orchestrated passing nightmare was Declan Rice. I did think he had a good game in terms of controlling. He's our constant in terms of consistency at the moment for me. But he did take the ball and clip the ball over the defensive line onto Jesus, and suddenly you could almost see Lens going, well, they haven't done this, and it did create a bit of chaos for a moment or two in the box. And I mean, nothing kind of came of it in the end, but what I liked about it was we were trying something a bit different with Declan Rice clipping the ball over the top there. Sometimes you have to play fast through the line, sometimes you have to step off and let them kind of come and press you and you play through it. Sometimes you have to, like a nice direct ball in behind the line, behind the defensive line. I mean, there was just no, if something's not working, why would you continue to do the same thing? Why can't we be a bit more agile in game rather than just play our way? I think that's the biggest worry for me. I was so bored in that last 20-25 minutes. It was poor. And the only time really where we put a bit of pressure on was in injury time at the end, where we won a couple of corners in a row. Reiss Nelson had a shot that was blocked again straight at the keeper as they were, and then a little bit of a melee in the box, but very, very poor. I mean, I kind of feel like this has been coming, to be honest, for a lot of the season. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a bit of a doom monger, but I really do think in a lot of the games we've played, we're not really looking good attacking wise. I kind of feel that Arteta needs now to kind of look at it and go, right, who the personnel that I've got there, what's working, what's not working, how can I do to tweak this and refine it? Because we need to be, we've got some good attacking players. We need to be creating more goal threat with the players we've got. I mean, a lot of talk about Havertz, but if Havertz is traditionally more of an attacking player, is his role in this team to offer a goal threat, or is it not? If it is, then he should be offering more of a goal threat. And I feel like we're sort of caught between two. Our midfield balance looks really off because Odegaard's having to kind of play a bit more defensively and therefore is less impactful in what he does best in the game. So I feel that there's a balance issue. We've got to look at our midfield and attack and start to get it, a little bit better. I'll be buzzing if Partey could come in and actually play in the midfield alongside Rice and Odegaard. I think that will free Odegaard up to kind of do his wonderful number 10 stuff that he does. But yeah, for me as an attacking force, it's not working. It's actually boring me a little bit at the moment, to be honest. I know can't be too grumpy, but I've got undefeated all season up until that point. But I've got really high standards as an Arsenal fan. I grew up on doubles and invincibles and trophies galore. So I want to see. I know you can't always play good football, but at the moment the good football is once in a bit of a blue moon for me, as opposed to being relatively consistent good games of football that we're winning. I appreciate a bit more defensively stable away from home, but yeah, it's not really working for me in that final third. I mean, overall thoughts now. Saka's out, we think. I mean, again, it wouldn't surprise me whatever happens with him, but if you've got a muscular injury, I think you're pretty done for a good few weeks. And with Martinelli out, I think now's maybe the time for Reiss Nelson, like I say, to come in. He looks lively, he looks bright. I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting on the right side of the attacking three against Man City at the weekend. Hopefully, when Trossard did look a bit leggy, a little bit lacking in sharpness, hopefully he can recover a bit more of that ahead of the weekend, because I can't see Martinelli being involved. Really this forward area, it's a problem. People always talk about, it's not my money when it comes to the transfer window, but is the inability for us to sell players and then not reinvest. We seem to be stockpiling defenders. Like Kivior doesn't get a look in. and yet we don't have additional options from the attacking perspective. So I'm kind of looking at A, why have we been buying so many defenders? But B, is there an ability to sell players, affecting the budget to then have maybe one more signing in us at the end of the summer window? Not that we can do anything about it now, of course. And the other thing, the final thing really for me is sterile possession. The passing through the lines is not quick enough. It's not direct enough. I know you can't always play like that. Last season we were a little bit more gun-ho at times. But there's got to be a time and a moment in a game. And if you're 2-1 down in the Champions League group stage game, why is that not the time to go, right, we need to kind of go for this now? I think Thomas Partey, when he's back, if he does move out of the right back position and get into midfield, that's potentially the time where I think we'll see a little bit more passing through the lines. I think he brings that kind of style of play, which is much needed, in my view, back into how we play stylistically. But there's got to be a time where we're losing 2-1. I'd rather us lost 3-1 last night and started, tearing into them with 20 minutes to go as an attacking force, but it never happened. Really poor game, poor lack of goal threat. It's really not sort of getting me going at the moment. But anyway, we move on to the next one. Obviously, massive game at the weekend against Man City. We're going to probably have a few players out for that one, particularly our wide forwards, upon whom we rely on so much. It's going to be a tough game, but still, if we get through this Champions League group stage, which I still expect us to, this game won't really matter. But for me, it's the damage in terms of injuries and confidence going into a big game against City. So yeah, that's coming up on Sunday, and then Jason and I will both be around next week to join forces again and as we review that game. In terms of bold predictions, we both got our predictions for this game wrong. So I had Raya to start the game, but with Arsenal to get a clean sheet, because I felt good with us away from home. And then Jason had Arsenal to win with a goal involvement from Odegaard. So that didn't happen as well. In terms of this week against City, Jason he's predicting a draw with a goal of involvement from Gabriel Jesus. And I'm really sorry to do this. I'm just being really honest, but I actually think we're going to lose the game. I just can't see. We never seem to be playing City with our full strength team. And people talk about the Community Shield this season, but Man City are renowned for losing the Community Shield. Purely, it just does not mean that much for losing that Community Shield, but actually winning the trophies that really matter. And we seem to be quite good at winning the Community Shield and some of the more sort of slightly tier 2 competitions, dare I say, like the FA Cup, which I absolutely love the FA Cup, by the way, but it's not quite the same as the Premier League and the Champions League in terms of status at this point. But I personally think we will lose the game. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say not more than one goal, by not more than one goal difference. Very negative. Sorry to say that, but it wouldn't surprise me either if Saka doesn't play. It wouldn't surprise me if we get another player magically cut down the day before in training as well. So, but we keep our fingers crossed. I mean, if we do get the result we want in this game against City, the Lens game will be completely forgotten about, and actually it will completely change the thinking, I think, when it comes to the Premier League season. I do think, even though City games are worth 6 points across the season, I do think the confidence that would come from beating City would propel us into other games and help us to pick up points in games that maybe we otherwise might draw in, for example. So it's going to be a massive game, and let's see what happens at the weekend in that case. But thanks for joining me today, Moody Gooners. Sorry it wasn't the most rip-roaring performance against Lens last night. Hopefully we can sort of get some players back fit and start sort of figuring out what we need to do from an attacking perspective. But that's all from me now. Look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Like, subscribe, and we will see you soon. Take care for now.